Hey, welcome to the Love and Growth Podcast. My name is Jason. This is Danielle. And we had a little bit of a technical issue with the last one. Microphones cut out. Not sure what the hell happened. But either way, thank you for coming back. Thank you for checking out the next episode. We just kind of want to carry on a little bit about the transitions we've been going through and just kind of pick up where we left off.
Yeah. So we'll do our best to pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are forgetful.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were going into a lot of it because we went through all the big shifts when it came to family, all the big shifts when it came to Jordan graduating, and really you kind of taking on a bigger role within yourself of just committing to more.
Yeah.
So I think those were big additions to what we've been dealing with everything.
Yeah. I think recently, I started my journey, we've talked in previous episodes about you wanting me to get off the couch. And so I feel like recently, literally past couple weeks maybe, I've escalated past where I kind of got up and I started, but I feel like now I'm let's fucking go. We're ready. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And I have a lot more momentum to get going now.
Yeah, I think momentum is a big thing. I think that's where a lot of people miss the boat because they get excited. They they start their journey. They go to a seminar, they go to something, they just get started, and it's like they come home and then life catches up, or they take that next step and life catches up, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you mapping out? What are you doing to ensure that this momentum carries on? Because we always know there's going to be setbacks, regardless of what you do. There's always going to be setbacks. What types of things have you committed to that you're like, hey, I'm in, I'm doing this? How did you go from, couch, however the fuck you want to put it, to this is what I want to take advantage of? What was that shift within you that kind of came out of it?
I think it was a lot. I think it was a lot of little pieces, but I think I got tired of being where I was the first step.
Yeah.
And tired of where we are, in a sense of just life in general. I love our relationship. I love where we are in life, but it was I'm tired of being here though. I want more. I want more. I want bigger. I want better. I want more. And, we talked a little bit last episode where it was I feel like since Jordan graduated, I have a little bit of freedom. I feel like I've completed this whole section of my life that now it's what do I do with this?
Yeah.
And so then for me, that's when I committed to my first ever fitness challenge. I joined the Lion's Den with you. I found the spark that I love helping people with relationships, which is how this came about. So all those little pieces, I think, adding up. And now I'm just I feel there was a load lifted off of my shoulder with Jordan graduating, that now I have room for all of this. And I'm okay, let's fucking go.
Yeah. And that's big too, realizing that there is room to have it and not just sitting down and just letting life come at you, so to speak, going out and actually getting it. And I think that's a big thing that leads us into kind of the transition that we made just recently, going over goals and just starting to set targets and that kind of thing. I mean, we've done that in the past. We've done a lot in the past. But I think with everything happening now, they've shifted a lot. The targets have shifted a lot. The methodology of getting there has shifted a lot. The way that we do things have shifted a lot. I think because now it's it's going to sound super aggressive when I say it. I know it's do or die. It's do or die in the sense of we can either stay where we are and we continue to get the results that we're getting, or we can kill off the last version of us. We've completed a leg of the journey, and we can live and live something bigger.
Yeah, it's almost, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about it as a rebirth. It's almost like a rebirth for me.
Yeah.
Personally. I mean, you're in the do or die, and I'm it's a rebirth. And he's I'm dead. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing. I mean, it's different versions of it, but they both have the same outcome in mind. The basic premise of it is looking at it and saying, the last version of me is gone. The new version of me has to live.
Yeah.
And the more that I keep one foot behind, the less likely I am to move forward.
Right.
And I think the reason that I say things with such an urgency now and the way that I'm looking at things is, one, we are stressed with a lot of stuff that's going on, and that's not anything that most people aren't dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
But the vision that I have for our lives, the vision that I have for me, and the vision that I have for where we're going is so big.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, my mindset now is, and it shifted over and I'll say it shifted over the last week, is I don't want to leave this planet wanting to do more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to leave thinking I could have done something else. I should have done this, or I stopped doing that. I made a post the other day, and I've said it before, is, what if you don't get tomorrow? Like, what would you change if you have 1 week left? And I think that mindset has really just kicked in over the last week, where it's like, it's time to go. And it might have been the kicker from you, like really jumping into things wholeheartedly. It was kind of the jump start I needed. I don't have to pull you along with me, and it's a terrible way to sound it, but
no, but it was because I was an anchor to you. And that's just basic relationship dynamics. You were ready to go a lot further than I was, and so I was holding you back.
Yeah.
And so, not that, like, you continued your journey, but there was still, like you had just said, a leg was still kind of back here.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I was still kind of like, no, you stay with me. And it was almost like a tug of war.
I don't even know if it was you saying stay with me, or me going, I don't want to leave.
Right.
And I think that's 6 of 1, half dozen of
Right.
The outcome is still the same.
Essentially, it's right. I was an anchor. I was holding you back from your full potential.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't living my full potential.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for both of us to grow, or for me to push you to your full potential, I have to live mine.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big part, was that I'm pushing you, like, you're excellent. You can do this. But you're only going to go so far, because how am I going to push you past your comfort zone when I'm still back here being mediocre and timid in my comfort zone?
Yeah.
I can't force you to get uncomfortable and push your boundaries if I am not doing it.
Yeah, it's hard to do that on your own. I mean, I think for anybody to just say, like, well, I want more, that sounds great. It's such a fucking seminar answer. It's like, yeah, I want more. I want to do more. But, like, do you, though? Like, do you make commitments to yourself to do that? Like, do you go through hard times and push yourself? Because when it's just you, and you feel like it's just you going, and you're surrounded by an environment that doesn't necessarily hold you back, but it doesn't necessarily push you forward either. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's an environment of comfort. It's an environment of just complacency.
Right.
Mm-hmm. How much, the mentality I've heard before, like, how much do you really need? Like, how much is enough? How much is too much? Like, there's nothing that's too much. I don't think there's ever going to be something that's too much. And that's kind of been a new staple for me, that it's like, nothing is too much. If you have a problem with money, fucking fix it. If you have a problem with a relationship, fucking fix it. If you have a problem with yourself, fucking fix it. And there's no end to where you can fix something. Right. There's no end to how much money you can make, because at the end of the day, people think money is the root of evil. And my new thought about that is, like, yes, money can lead to greed, but money can help so many people. Mm-hmm. What you do with your money is what counts. Like, if you want to give money away, you can give it away. If you don't have any money, you can't help anybody. Right. Like, you can't help yourself, you can't help anybody. So why the fuck wouldn't you go for all of it? Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have to pick a life of, not having treasures and cars and gifts and things like that just to make yourself feel better. Well, only, rich people are evil, rich people are this. What you do with your money, and it kind of sidetracked me, but at the same point in time, I looked at it and I said, how can I help the most people? How can we help the most people? How can what we're doing level up? And the only way that we can level up is to help more people. And how do we help more people? We can do it through the message that we give out. We can do it through content. We can do it through value that way. We can also do it by giving. And if we're blessed enough to grow our financial kingdom to where we want it to be and even beyond, like, we can give to families. We can give to charities. You can give to that. You can't do that playing in a realm of just sitting in bullshit and mediocrity. Comfort. And, if I had only a week to live, and I had all these people that I know that I'm pulled to impact, then what the fuck am I doing sitting on the couch scrolling on my phone?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not lending value to people? Why am I not giving more? Why am I not talking more? Why am I not showing up more for you, for everybody, for my kids, for myself? Like, yeah, this time's fucking temporary.
Yeah.
And I think looking at that in the sense of our relationship, like I want the time that we get together to matter. I want the time that we get to spend just you and I to matter, and to know that we live this life all in together as a couple, and then from there as a family to
Right.
wherever the family, you know, if it's just two kids, if it's more, whatever it turns out to be, it doesn't matter. The sense of it is, I want this legacy to change. So in order for that to happen, I have to do that.
Right. And I think, with me pushing a little bit further, then it pushes you a little bit further. Because it's like, oh, she's like stepping up. Well, then shit, I better step up. Like, and it's like a healthy competition, right? Because you're the man. So you're like, no, I lead. Like, I'm going to lead. I'm going to do better. I'm going to do this. And it kind of like lights a fire in you. And then, I level up to here, you level up to here. And it's kind of like a continuous chase in a healthy way.
In a great way.
And that's also led us, like, you mentioned, like, we do our goals. Mm-hmm. But it's like you've done goals and I've done goals. But now it's like we're doing individual goals and goals together. Mm-hmm. And on top of those goals, it's like I'm making a commitment.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of the commitment is the biggest thing. But not only with the commitment, like, what's the action?
Right, but like in addition to the goals, it's like I'm making a commitment to you. You're making a commitment to me. Sorry, I cut off. But so now we're making a commitment to each other in addition to our individualized goals. Yeah. So it's just another layer to level us like even more.
Well, I think you have to. I think that. Let me say this with as much care as I can. Couples that make goals together that don't have goals individually are never going to accomplish anything. Because one person is going to believe more than the other. And I think that's the issue. That we could say, as a family, we're going to do this. As a family, we're going to do that. But if my core values and your core values with our goals don't align, then it doesn't make a goddamn difference. Like, then you're still just playing in hopes and dreams. And nothing's going to change because there's no commitment to it. There's no commitment to yourself.
Right. And that's important because in order for you to want to grow, want to be fulfilled, like in order for you to meet your goals, you have to fill your own cup.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to have wants for yourself.
Yeah, and you have to see that. Like, the one thing that bothers me the most when I deal with goals with people and we go through this process, and it is an extensive process. It's probably more in depth than most people have gone through. But the idea is one key step in the process is like connecting with what that end time looks like. Mm-hmm. And it seems so like woohoo when you talk about it, but it's like you have to physically understand that if this is going to be a possibility, you have to know what that is. Mm-hmm. You have to see what that is, feel what that is, touch what that is, smell what, like taste what that, like you have to have such a connection to it that your life won't be complete until you get there. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to get there. I've seen guys go through goals and have a set target that's a long-term target that's just, it's constantly there and they're still reaching for it. That's good as long as you're making progress. So to have goals repeat over and over again is not a bad thing as long as you're creeping towards it. But at the same point in time, like it has to be that strong of a pull that I'm still going there. Not just writing on paper. I have to go there. Like that drive to want to be more. I think that's the step that you've taken in your life where it's like, I'm done here. Mm-hmm. I'm done at this point. And to feel that and to know it's like, hey, I almost have to change my identity now because for me, for a long time, it was like, well, I can't go too far because that would take me too far from you. I can't reach too far because you're not far enough to get there with me. And I wasn't about to do it without you. So if that meant sacrificing, it meant sacrificing for me. And as much as that sucked, I still had to do that.
Yeah. And then that makes me, I mean, now it makes me feel a little bit like guilt, or I don't know, guilt's maybe the right word, but I know that I was holding you back because I know that your choice between moving forward or leaving me is if you need to move forward or keep me, like you're going to keep me.
Yeah.
And it just at the time, like I couldn't see the bigger picture because I was still sitting in my own shit.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, I do feel some type of way that, like, we could be way further in our journey if I would have just gotten involved, if I would have just taken a step. But flip side of that, we can't live in the past. We can't live in regret.
Right.
The only thing we can do is keep moving forward now.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, well, I got a fire lit under my ass. Like, you don't have a choice. Let's go. Like, I'm like, you don't have a choice. Get going.
Right. And it's not even, and this is the biggest step, especially when somebody jumps in or doesn't jump in. The biggest foundational point right now is we had to get completely honest with where we were. Like understanding where we were, understanding where we are, and then setting what was coming. Mm-hmm. Like, because at that point, there's three different, I want to call it levels to everything. There's three different levels to your goal setting. And the first and key one is the honest right now. Like, how are you physically? How are you mentally? How are you spiritually? How are we financially? How are we everything? Like relationship, everything had to be out on the fucking table. Mm-hmm. And that is the hardest one. I know every time that I go to the next level, like I get excited things that are working, but when you get kicked in the dick and like, wow, this really isn't working. It's almost like a rude awakening where you're like, shit, this isn't working.
Yeah, well, it's like I was doing my goals the other day, and you were like, why are you not happy? And I'm like, because they always make me feel like shit, because it points out where I'm not doing. Like, I suck at this, I suck at this, I suck at this. And then I'm like, well, no, I don't suck at that, because mindset.
Just not working.
Know? So it's like, you know what, this isn't working. It's not that I suck, but something needs to change. So here's where it needs to adapt. But I always get like so cranky when I'm doing my goals because I'm like, oh, it's pointing out everything I'm not doing.
Right. I think people shy away from that, though. I think that's one thing that keeps people from moving forward. Is like they don't want to address the elephant in the room, which is the fucking truth. Mm-hmm. Like, this is where I truly am. Like, I'm 50 pounds overweight. I haven't done this in years. I haven't done that. I can't touch my toes. I haven't seen my toes. Where the fuck are my toes? Like, understanding where you actually are and doing that in a realistic way is big. Like, but it has to happen. It has to happen because if not, when you go through the process of you getting that fire lit on you and being like, fuck it, I'm going, it's great. But in order to create a map,
you have to know where you're going.
We have to know where we're going, but we have to know where we fucking start.
Yeah.
Like, it's just putting a GPS and just being like, well, here's the end point. I'm going multi-million, blah, 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 blah. And then it goes, all right, well, what's your starting point? And you're like, I don't fucking know.
Right.
So understanding that level of trust or that level of truth that you have to dive into that we've been going through these last couple of weeks is painful.
Yeah. Well, it is painful, but there's also like another side to it, right? Because going through all of that, like when we laid out everything and it's like, okay, everything is laid out, our truth is there. And then we look at where we came and like, it's kind of, again, going back to the past couple of weeks and everything that has happened. Mm-hmm. And all around, it's like, all of this has led me to feel safe in the matter that I know you've got me. I know that we're secure. Like, it doesn't matter what else is happening. It doesn't matter where the finances are. It doesn't matter what's happening outside. It's like, you've got me and I'm safe. And I think that was also a crucial part for me to be like, yeah, we can go.
You can go. You had to go.
Yeah. Because it let me let go. You know, we were talking about rebirth and all that. And so it helped me to let go of the past versions of me that I was holding on to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
And it's not easy when you're dealing with somebody. And I understand, like, it's not easy when you're in a partnership or a relationship, however you want to describe yourself, where you look at the other person, you're like, don't you just want to go? Like, don't you just want to go? Like, come with me. And the other person's got stuff. But here's the other thing. Like, I think we've talked about it hundreds of times before. Like, you can't bring somebody with you. Like,
Right.
you can only just hold space and make a choice
Mm-hmm.
as to where you're going to be with them and how this future looks. So for me, it was like I was willing to forego a future because I knew that my everything is with you. And then once I started to go, and then we went through everything and really got down to the bare bones of who we were and got real with where we were, it was like, shit, this transition is something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the new outcome of it and what we mapped out is just like, damn, all right, this will puck you up a little bit. Like, it's time to go. But I think that's where those big jumps start to happen, because you get really brutally honest of where you're at, and then once you start to see a big vision and connect with that super hard, and then are able to backtrack it back, I think that's where we got into the point where we're like, well, this shit's broken.
Yeah.
We've gotten this far with what we've done. We appreciate it. We're grateful for it. Like, put it to fucking bed. And now it's like, this is the real deal. Like, step one. We're climbing the next mountain. Like, this is the first step. This is the honest truth of what I brought with me to climb this mountain. Then it was like, okay, well, that mountain is going to look like this. What do I need to get there? But if we just showed up, didn't really give a shit, we just lied about it and just said, at the end of 12 months, we're going to have X, Y, and Z, and didn't even know where we started. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
But I think you're to the point now where you're like, hey, this is me. I'm open now, and this is the hard part of every journey. At least, getting connected with that truth within yourself and getting vulnerable and knowing when you jump into a partnership like this that both people are operating the same way. Um, I don't think you would have gotten to this place if I wasn't there showing it and just being honest.
No, I will say, like, you stayed steady the whole time. Like, you didn't, like, as much as it's like, okay, I'm an anchor and I'm holding you where you are, but you still stayed consistent with your values. You still stayed consistent with building your business, with your core values, with your, everything, and just held space for me and waited for me to catch up. And I had to get there myself, but I did. So it's like, you hold such an influence over your partner. I mean, when you hold an influence over me, I'll speak directly for me because that's what I know. Right. So you do hold that influence over me where it's like, I know that you can do this. I know that you're going to stay consistent. I know that you're still going to go by your core values and not give in to them, even if you're not going to go all in because part of you is waiting for me. But you held that space for me and you trusted that I was going to get there.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to hold that space hoping. But I think if I would have broken my core values and I would have changed up how I operated, I don't think you would have came. Because I think the trust that had to be there for you to step up was fragile. And it was fragile from the shit that we've been through before. It was fragile from everything else. So I think going through this bigger transition and going through this, it was like I needed to hold space even harder and be more like consistent than ever, because it was like I know that if I break one piece of this, like, you're definitely not coming.
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of goes back to all of it where it's like, when trust is broken, the only way to get the trust back is to be consistent and follow through with everything you say. So again, like, laying it all out, like, I finally was like, I can put my shield down and I can be all in with you because I'm safe. Because you showed me that it's okay and that you're not going to leave. You're not going to disappear from me. You know, like, you're going to follow through with what you say. I don't have to go back to that time where we struggled. I don't have to go back to worrying about, is he going to have an affair? Is he going to do this? Like, no, I am safe. And you showed me that with your consistency. And I think with all of that, it did allow me to kind of, like I said, drop my shield or just let go and be like, oh, okay.
Those years though, like that. Let's put this into context. Like that trust in doing that didn't happen over the last 3 weeks. Like what happens is you just like a tree. I think I heard a story one time about bamboo, and a guy planted bamboo seeds, and he came and he watered them every day, every day, every day, and nothing happened. Every day. First year went by, second year went by, still watering, 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 and then on the fourth year, they shot up 20 feet tall. They didn't realize all the groundwork that was being laid, all the roots that were being laid, all those integral parts that if you would have shut off the food and the nutrition to those roots, like nothing grows then. Mm-hmm. You know, and I probably butchered the shit out of the story, but at the same point in time, like, but that's the basic foundation. Like, if you don't get deep enough roots, you can't go fucking high enough. It's not going to work. You're just going to fall the hell over. So I think people rush so much. So if you're going to put it in the sense of talking like plants and things like that, like if a tree's roots are so superficial, just like you set your goals, like if you set your goals super high, but you don't lay the foundation underneath, like if that tree goes really high, which is awesome, it's just going to fall the hell over because there's no foundation to hold it. I think by building the foundation of trust and the consistency and the all in that we've done, we've built that foundation up over years. Yeah. So, I mean, if you fucked up, if you're in a place where you don't trust the other person, but you're willing to move forward, then just be patient. Just hold space. Be consistent. Be somebody that's worthy of love, somebody that's worthy of trust, and just lay that for years and be willing to take that time if it's the right person. If you feel like it's the right person.
Yeah. And, you know, to go off of that, that self-worth and that self-love. And that was my struggle. Because when we transitioned from me working to me being a stay-at-home mom, it was really hard for me. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I didn't know how to find value in being a stay-at-home mom.
You've never had to do it before.
But that's where my self-worth crushed. Mm-hmm. That's where I was like, no, I'm not going. Because, like, you're an entrepreneur. I just stay home with kids. Like, I didn't know my worth in that position. Yeah. I didn't value myself in that position.
Yeah. Nobody else can put that, regardless of how many people. I mean, because stay-at-home moms are incredible. I mean, some probably aren't, but majority are. And you look at it and you go, okay, well, if you've never had to do that before, you don't have a reference point. Like, nobody else in our families are stay-at-home moms. So, like, if you don't have a reference point of how valuable it is, like, why would you know what to be? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a learning process that people have to realize too. Like, there's a big connotation now, like everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, and I think it's so stupid because it's like not everybody's meant for that. You know, not everybody's meant for an entrepreneurial role or a solopreneur or intrapreneur role or an employee. Like, find where you are and be honest, and it comes back to being honest. Like, be honest where you are, and then like build that value within yourself by doing the work and getting there. I think that's where you're at now. Is you've got to the point where you're like, fuck, I can make something of this, and now the time is just do the work.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part and the hardest part, and the days you don't want to get the fuck out of bed, and the days that it just seems like the kids are screaming, you can't get anything done. And I you know, as a stay-at-home mom, like, people can't mimic that in a workspace. It's not the same. Because, you know, being a stay-at-home mom, like, that job never shuts off.
Right.
But I think for those of you out there that are parents, just because the job doesn't shut off doesn't mean that you don't make time for you and your partner.
Right.
Like, those date nights have to happen. So you might still be a mom, but like we're on a date. Like
Yeah.
that mom shit goes to the side. Like you're back to connecting with me and you.
Yeah, well, that's our little one just said, oh, mom, you're doing your makeup. Like, where are you going? And I said, well, we're going to record. And then, oh, what are you doing after? I said, well, mommy and daddy have a date. She goes, well, can I come on your date? No, ma'am, you most certainly cannot. That is for mommy and daddy. And then she said, well, can I have a date with daddy? Mm-hmm. So now she wants to set up her own daddy date.
Yeah, she didn't. But that's the thing. Like we had to show her before. Like we've had daddy daughter dates. Mm-hmm. We've had those, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I really like those." Mm-hmm. And now she's like, "Well, can I have a date with my brother? Can I have a date with mommy? Can I have it?" Like, but seeing that and her like having that experience with the daddy daughter dates and being like, "Oh, I really like those," to being like, "Well, I want to do that with you, and I want to do that with you." Like, spark that in her where it's like, mm-hmm. Yeah, but that priority needs to be there where we set the tone to say like, this is our time.
Yeah.
Like you guys kick rocks. Like,
yeah.
But that doesn't happen unless you are actively pursuing that. Mm-hmm. You're actively pursuing that connection, that prioritizing, like being deep into what those things are.
Yeah. And let me just say, because I know that we're guilty of this, like, especially when our life gets super chaotic and everything, like, it is so important to not just check the box. Don't just, check the date night, relationship goals, done, got it. Like, no, because that's, like, we were starting to fall into that, which we can see it. Mm-hmm. And that just comes from doing it for so much. But it came to the point where I was like, all right, stop. We need to have like a weekly board meeting to discuss all this stuff because we need to get back to connecting on date night.
Right. Yeah, date night was becoming cloudy. That was my fault because I was so overwhelmed with everything that was happening in our personal life. And my business has gotten so crazy with a bunch of different things that got launched. So it's just like, then it just became, well, this is a vent session. And it was like, we were just there. We still weren't on our phones, but we still weren't there.
Right. Not on our phone, and it was more so like, oh, well, here's what's happening in life. Oh, well, here's what's happening with kids. Oh, well, and that's one of our big day night rules is like, we don't talk about work and kids. Like, mm-hmm. We talk about us. We talk, like, we've been together almost a decade, but there's still so much to know about each other.
Yeah.
So that's typically like day night is for that connection. Mm-hmm. And so we had to sit back down and be like, this isn't working. We're just checking a box. We need to get back to us.
Right.
And so that's where we will say, okay, well, we didn't really think we needed board meetings. No, we need to put them back on the table because we can't have that interfere with day night.
Yeah, so they'll be consistent for the next few weeks until we get everything leveled back out. And mm-hmm. it's back on the books. It's back in the schedule. And I think it just lets you know that whenever you reach a new peak in life, you always have to reevaluate where you are. Mm-hmm. You always have to reevaluate, and that's why the working or not working really comes into play, where it's like, hey, this isn't working right now. Like, What's the problem? What do we need to change? Yeah. So that return and report and figure it out and redirect and doing it, it's all that stuff comes into play, and I think waiting too long is a problem.
Yeah, and from us doing it for so long, it's easier for us to be like, time out. We need to fix it. But it's something that, everybody can kind of look for because even though, like, we've been practicing it for so long, but we still slip up sometimes. Yep. We're not perfect. Yep. And so it's important to realize these triggers and when these things happen so that you can say, time out, we got to fix it.
Yeah, you start to see deja vu. It starts to happen over and over again. And once you're in that loop again, you're like, hey, when the fuck do we get back here? Mm-hmm. And then you have to reevaluate. And I think, we're on a new path. You're on a new path together. We're on a new path together. We're on a new path individually. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the start of something big. And I'm excited for everybody to be able to check it out and come along on the journey. And, it's scary. I'll be honest, I'm scared because of the goals that we set and how big things are. But I'm excited because I think the next version, when we sit down to do it again, is going to be like.
Yeah. But I think if you're not scared, your goals aren't big enough.
Yeah. And I think that's a big key where it's like, hey, when you look at the big goals that we set, we're like, oh, these are big. And then you look down to the bites that we get to take each day and we're like, they're doable. It's exciting to get up and do it. And I think that's the idea of how to set them the right way. And that's how we can kind of time warp the entire process and know that we're moving forward. Anything else you got with that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. That was big. So I appreciate you guys coming back. Again, we apologize for the last show, but thank you so much for checking out with us. If you're interested to learn more about the relationship group that we started, it's p4connection.com. I'll put the link in the description of the box with everything else. But we do a full goal setting program in the group. So we're coming up into Q3. So that will be going on very soon as you hear this. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. Go to the website. Even if it's just one of you, and I want to kind of put this out there because I know some people have gotten the misconception. We've got messages about it. Like both people are welcome in the group. Mm-hmm. We encourage both people to be there, but it is not a mandatory thing that both people need to go there because we've established in our own lives that some people go faster than the other. Yeah. So building the framework of yourself within a relationship is key to setting the priorities and moving forward. So one person is welcome when the other person is ready to go. They're more than welcome to join as well. Pricing, everything like that is on the, kind of set up that way, but not to get too scientific and technical about it, but don't think that both people have to go. If you have a partner that's like, fuck those people, I'm tired of hearing them, perfectly understand. If you're ready to go, we would love to have you there. So check out the link below. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. And do us a favor, please like, share the show, comments, keep the messages coming. Love and Growth Podcast on Instagram. We check it all the time. We always love to hear your feedback. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you.
See you guys next time.
Bye.